All right, our guests brought to you as always by Berard Physiotherapy, the one and only Luke Willson. You put up some great numbers over the last 5 years there. Good Canadian boy and a current free agent. Now, with that, we got to ask. I'm positive that you're not allowed to answer, but we'll see what we can do. Are you sticking around the Pacific Northwest? Do you want to kind of spread the wings, see what else is out there, or what are you thinking?
Honestly, I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't even know if it's I don't know if legal is the right term or whatever. If like agents and GMs are allowed to talk right now, like for other teams. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time in Seattle. I love the Pacific Northwest. Love going to Vancouver. The only other team, take the football aspect away that I would really enjoy being at city-wise, which is a weird one, but would probably be Detroit, just because I grew up 10 minutes from the Detroit border. But as far as football goes, this year obviously didn't go as planned, but, playing 5 years in the league and having your worst year 9-7, we're going to win a bunch of games, and the Seahawks will continue to win a bunch of games, and it's a fun atmosphere. Pete Carroll is the man, and yeah, so I definitely would like to be back, but a lot of factors play into it.
For sure. We know, and most fans know what goes into a contract. It's not just a good idea. It's got all the pieces have to fit. So, as we came in, can you talk about your time in Seattle and what you love about it so far? You come into the league, you get to play next to guys like Jimmy Graham. What are you learning from guys like that? What have you learned now so far in your first five? And how are you going to use that now to have another better, an even better five, I guess would be the question.
I think Jimmy has taught me a lot. When he came here 3 years ago, it was one of those things where the guy is a perennial all-star, a future Hall of Fame guy. And just to see the way that he approaches every day and the way he works. I remember when he first got in, I was kind of worried, that I'd have some sort of prima donna guy that, this guy is all business 24/7 and is just, I think the world of him, and just to see, for a guy who's at the top of his game, at the top of our game, the work that he puts in to stay up there, I think that really kind of showed me a lot as far as what it takes off the field, mentality-wise. And then on the field, you guys see him on game days. He does a lot of special stuff, so that's pretty easy when you're watching film to kind of pick his brain and be like, yo, what were you thinking here? How do you do this? That sort of thing.
The tight end position has evolved a hell of a lot in the last decade. And now it's blocking was always a huge thing, but it's so essential now with everyone's two running back system and whatnot. How important, or how much does it factor into your decision perhaps, or even does it, going to a place where there's a pocket passer versus a guy like Russell Wilson where you always have to have eyes in the back of your head knowing where he's going?
Yeah, that is definitely a factor. I don't know how big of a factor. And Jay was saying, it's one of those things where there's so many factors that go into this decision. Everybody knows the big one is obviously money. But beyond that, I'd say, just as equally important to most guys as money. I say most guys because I'm sure everybody doesn't feel this way. But it's kind of the culture of the team. It would be very tough for me to go to a team who's not trying to win. And what I mean by that is everybody is trying to win in the NFL. It's not like, okay, we didn't want to win this game. But some organizations put in more effort. I'm sure it's like that across the board as far as free agency goes, as far as taking care of their players, facilities, that whole thing. They want the best situation so that their players will succeed on the field. And Seattle, I think, is the cream of the crop when it comes to that stuff. Our cafeteria, our weight room, our facility down there in Renton is unbelievable. And the vibe Pete spits off is also unbelievable. So it'd be tough for me to go over a team, or even this year when we didn't make the playoffs, it was kind of like one of those things where going into that last game, I legitimately thought, hey, we're going to beat Arizona, go down, beat the Rams. I'm not really thinking this far ahead, but there's not a doubt in my mind that if we're in the playoffs, we're the team to beat, which is, I'm sure everyone would disagree, but in our locker room, that's just how we feel. And so to answer your question, I think the factors outside of that, after those two factors, everything else kind of trickles in. Like I said, we're the city, the living situation, kind of your social stuff outside of football, what your role will be. There's definitely like you said, I do watch film and see some other tight ends that have a lot of notoriety. It kind of grinds your gears a little bit because you're sitting there like, I don't know, one of those things where, not to take anything away from these guys, but they're just getting fed the rock. It's late in the game. They're down by 20. They're catching flat routes, and their stat line's got, I caught 98 yards today. And it's like, yeah, your last 50 were in the last 6 minutes of the fourth quarter. And so as like a tight end, it is a bit like that stuff, it can get a little annoying, especially because on offense like ours, there's so many weapons. It's hard for guys to get yards. I look at everybody. We very rarely have a 1,000-yard guy or a guy that really consistently puts up 100-yard games. It's kind of like, hey, Jimmy had a big one, Doug had a big one, P. Rich had a big one, Tyler, situations like that. So I don't know. It's one of those things where, yeah, that is a factor. It's a long-winded answer, but at the end of the day, I gotta sit down and put everything together.
100%. Okay, well, we also know how far you've come, right? And that's also a huge part about people's stories and their own experiences and how they drive their own ships. But for people that listen to our show or are tuning in now for the first time and see your name on the back of a jersey, but can you talk just in a Cliff Notes version? How do you get from LaSalle, Ontario to the NFL?
It's kind of a, yeah.
you know what I mean? I think people. I love rise and shine stories. I'm the same. I come from a background where I should have never been there. Or, we got to take our opportunities when they come because you come in through the back door in a lot of different situations. But talk about your story and kind of for our listeners that don't know who you are. How does that, especially for our Canadian listeners, how did it all shake down?
Yeah, it was a bit odd. Like you said, when I was a kid, I was more of a hockey, baseball kid, which is most kids in LaSalle. Hockey in the winter, baseball in the summer, and everything else kind of, you play your elementary school or high school sports to kind of fill in there. And then I have two older brothers that are big football guys. So I started, first year playing actual football was 8th grade. Your Pee-wee, house league, whatever you want to call it, district team. Went into high school, played junior in 9th grade, senior in 10th grade. I was pretty big. And then in 11th grade, the summer going into my senior year, so just high school football, 11th grade, the hockey stuff was looking a little shaky. So in Ontario, which is a little different from BC, we have a summer football league that is very competitive. So our high school is kind of so-so. As far as Canadian terms go, it's not really great as far as if you're playing down south. But we have a summer league team that's kind of like the all-stars from every high school, like an all-district team, whatever you want to call it. And we would play throughout Ontario. So it'd be like, we're going down the road playing London. I think Sarnia had a team. Cambridge, Brantford, all the big counties, everybody would put a team in this league all the way to Sault Ste. Marie. And so pretty much the whole province. So I started playing on that team, and the football there is much better, a little more comparable to the States, much more competitive. And from there, I went to a camp in Waterloo, Ontario. Rice happened to be there. They're like, hey, send some film. And I sent in all this, the team's called the Essex Ravens film. And the coach called me back and was like, we were expecting like some really poor film. Like this black and teal team is pretty solid. You guys are pretty good. 2 weeks later, I had a full ride to Rice, which was pretty mind-blowing. I remember taking that cell phone call, my flip phone, and being like, I think he just told me I have a full ride.
Yeah.
You're not really just a Canadian kid who doesn't know much about football. You don't really, that stuff, you don't hear that too often, I should say. So I took a visit down there, and Rice was its own experience, which I won't get into. Some good, bad. But thankfully, I made it out. Had a decent career there. Few injuries I dealt with, especially late in my career, but got through it. Had a pretty good pro day, and then was sitting in this. I'm in my hometown right now. I was sitting in the basement of this house on draft day, and phone rang with a 425 area code. I answered it, and it was John Snyder. And then since then, I've been up in Seattle, so it's been kind of a cool ride.
Nice, man. That's really cool. Okay, some quick rapid-fire random questions. We're running out of time here, but we'll start things out. Let's see, we got a list here. If a GM came up to you with $20 million a season and a big bag like the one they're going to give Kirk Cousins, and he said, I'm going to give this to you if you sing me a song, which song are you singing?
Whatever song he wants.
It's your choice. And if you sing it to us, we're going to send you a bottle of Connoisseur Viognier. So please, a few bars.
We'll wait till you get here.
It's got to be a singing song.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
Wow, I don't want, probably, this is so basic, but I would probably say Don't Stop Believin' by Journey.
Can't go
there
wrong.
You go. Not basic at all. One of the best karaoke classics of all time.
Yeah.
Cannot go wrong.
Okay.
I'm ashamed of myself. I should have said something better. I'm ashamed of myself.
No, that's good. That's good. Okay, next question. What is your favorite pump-up song of 2017? What would you listen to before you head out the tunnel?
This year, it was like weird because I go through phases. But this year, I was a big heavy metal guy, which is like not really my normal swag. I'll do some techno. I'll do some rap. I'll do some classic rock. But this year, I kind of went, not that this is heavy metal. I'd say the first half of the season, I was heavy in the Nirvana scene.
Oh.
And then the last half, I was going, is it Duality by Slipknot?
Oh, like you say, Duhast.
Yeah.
Nice. Duhast is a totally... Oh.
Nice. Okay, finally, just because I'm sure you hear his name all the time, do you hate Luke Willson, the actor?
Not at all. I honestly, first off, I think the guy's hilarious. I mean, some of his movies have been unbelievable. Secondly, I'm not really sure if it's him, but a mutual friend of ours in Vancouver knows him and was like, hey, apparently this was 3 or 4 years ago, wanted to do a commercial about being like sometimes like sell a commercial, us too, that was going to be like, the premise of it was like, sometimes like almost right just isn't right, and was going to have him in like a football like huddle and me in like an acting scene just acting like a big doofus. But
that would have brought the house down in Canada.
Yeah, that'd be sweet, man.
I don't know if it was legit or not, so maybe I was just texting a random person.
People that I know that don't know NFL, it's like, oh, yeah, we're gonna have Luke Willson on. They're like, the actor? What does it matter?
Yeah.
But very nice, man. Last question: how long is that hair gonna get?
That's a deep question.
And do you find that long hair works better for your game?
Yes, that's why it's back. So when I cut it, I was like, sweet. 2 games later, I got a concussion, my first ever concussion. This is in 2014, 2015, whatever. And then it was like, my first 2 years statistically were my best years in the NFL. Next one wasn't great. Next one I got hurt, missed 6 games. So I'm like, you know what? What's going on? And I realized it's like kind of like Samson or whatever. It's got to be the hair.
Strengthen the hair. What product? We had Russell Tybert. He's White Caps captain on the show. He's got fantastic hair. But we always like to ask like guys with great hair, what products do you use? Do you have a special brand that you use? Or is this,
I don't know if I'm saying this right, but basically my go-to when I go out now, let's say I can't wear a beanie or a backwards hat, like it's a little more whatever, formal, if you will. So I'll wet it, and I have this stuff called, I think it's got an R plus KO. I'm not sure if it's Rockaway. I don't know what the hell it is, but it's a sea salt spray.
So it just hardens it up just enough.
Drench it. No, I'll drench it because my hair's kind of fine, so it'll give it like a little texture, and it kind of looks like this dude just walked off a beach, but he's wearing a suit at the same time look, which is really what I'm going.
That's a good look. That's a good look, man.
I bet you nailed that look.
Beautiful, man. Hey, thank you so much for joining us, Luke. Really appreciate it, man. Are you actually? I forgot to ask. Are you making it out? If you're not sure just yet, don't throw it out there. But everyone loves the camps when you come up here, and I've been asked to ask you any plans at all.
I don't know yet. A lot of it's going to depend on free agency. and then if I'm on a new team or not, kind of getting out there. I'd love to come back out. If I'm in Seattle, I'll definitely be up there at some point to get something going. But I got to kind of wait and figure my life out. First things first, I've got to get out of my parents' house. It's weird being 28 and bunked in with your parents again. But hopefully in another month, I'll get that figured out, and we'll go from there.
I'll be very disappointed if I don't get to play in your golf tournament again, because that's always one of the highlights of my summer.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful. Hey, man. Thank you so much. And, we'll follow along. We'll follow the news. We wish you all the best, man.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Luke.
All right, dude.